How's it going, everybody? Primitive Mycology here again. Today, I would like to talk about azomite. There is a lot of conversation about whether it's beneficial or not for the growth of fungi. It's most definitely beneficial in the garden and for house plants and things like that. But what about mushrooms? There's people that say it's fantastic, won't grow without it. There's other people that say that it does absolutely no good. In my experience, it can be very good if used properly. And what I mean by used properly, there's a million ways to use anything. And when I say properly, I guess that's incorrect. I have found a method that makes it very beneficial. I have found that with azomite, by adding it just as a dry powder to grain or to substrate, it doesn't really do all that much until the third or fourth flush, or in outdoor growing added to a bed, over the course of a few months, it is pretty noticeable. Not needed, but it does make a difference. I have found that, like with any kind of, powdered supplement, the best way I've found to use it is by making a broth, by dissolving it and boiling water over the course of about an hour. I like to pre-boil a broth before I boil my grain. Adding it to substrate, I haven't really had much luck. But when doing grain prep, I tend to soak my grain overnight, and then I boil it until it's al dente, till it'll break by the tooth. And at that point, you can look inside and see whether it's hydrated or not. There isn't really much absorption into the grain without first dissolving it. As I said, if I boil it for 30 minutes to an hour prior to boiling my grain, and I boil the grain in that broth, it will then absorb those nutrients. And I've noticed faster colonization rates. I don't know if the yield output is any more, but I noticed faster colonization. It kind of helps to stabilize my pH, because as fungi break down grain, it slowly becomes more acidic, which is an invitation to bacteria and other fungi, which we don't want growing mushrooms. Now, in substrate, I found that it does make a small difference if used in the same method. If I make a broth with it and kind of extract the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, however you want to explain, what it's made of. It's mainly minerals and vitamins. It's mined. It's basically like a rock of some sort. In its solid form, it takes just too long to be absorbed and used. But by making a broth and breaking it down, you're kind of doing what nature does. When you think about the way that a river cuts through rock or wears out a canyon and carries all them vitamins and minerals, that's kind of what you're doing with boiling water. Excuse me. With boiling water, not only are you using heat to help break the structure, but as water boils, the motion in the water creates friction against it, therefore dissolving it. Dissolved, it's pretty impressive in very, very small amounts. Large amounts, I don't really see a tablespoon doing any more than a half of a teaspoon or a pinch does. It's pure nutrients, basically, pure minerals and vitamins that just can't all be absorbed. Not in the amount of time that you're going to grow mushrooms. As I said, though, coming back to making a broth with it, it is able to be absorbed at that point. And in growing gourmets, it, in a way, probably kind of fortifies your mushroom with vitamins and minerals that it may not get from the substrate you're growing on. As we all know, mushrooms are like sponges. They mine and break down whatever kind of substrate they're on, whatever nutrients are available, and they absorb them. Same reason you wouldn't want to eat a morel that was growing next to your burn bin, because it's going to absorb all that, matter in the soil. This same thing applies. I personally appreciate a nutritious, vitamin-rich, mineral-rich mushroom. Same thing with your garden. Would you want to grow your tomatoes in torn up cardboard? They will grow. Not very well, and they're not going to taste like much of anything. I find kind of a similar thing with mushrooms. If you're going to grow something for nothing more than output and forget about taste, forget about nutrient density, forget about all the benefits that you are trying to get from eating mushrooms, then sure, you don't need any kind of nutrition in your substrate. Our substrates growing oyster mushrooms or shiitake, they're naturally, it's going to break down that wood, and whatever supplements you're using, if you are, such as soy hulls, oat hulls, corn cob, any number of things. They're going to absorb the nutrients from that, and then you are then going to eat them, and they're going to be very good for you. There's many, many, many ways to grow, and commercially, it would be too much of a hassle. I absolutely understand that. Why spend all that time to add the extra when you're doing, 1,000 pounds a week? That just wouldn't make sense. You still could, but in a commercial instance, you're growing to make money. You're growing for output, fruit density, weight, things like that. You're not really growing specifically for a nutrient-rich delectable. It's just not really possible to focus on something like that when you have so much already on your plate. In any business, the end of the game is to make money to support your family. And I 100% agree with that. But in personal growth, I do prefer a few added natural supplements. I don't ever use pesticides. I don't ever use any kind of synthetics. That's not anything I'm interested in. For the same reason that I don't want to eat genetically modified food or ultra processed food, I grow my own because it's going to be healthier, fresher. And I know that there has been no, what I would call, poisons put into it. So clearing up some of the azomite talk, if I add that as a powder to a jar of grain and sterilize it, it will do me zero good. Maybe, way on down the line, third or fourth, fifth flush might absorb some. But by making a broth and dissolving it and allowing the grain to absorb it, it does make a noticeable difference. I found with azomite, it's all on how you use it. What is your application? what result are you looking for? If you think you're going to double your yields and you're upset it didn't, well, that's kind of your fault for thinking you were going to double your yields. It just doesn't work that way. Very, very, very surely it does not work that way. But if you would like to enrich the crop you grow with vitamins and minerals, have something that's going to be healthy, nutrient dense, it is a benefit. And as I said, I have noticed a slightly faster colonization, which decreases the chance of competing bacteria and fungi taking over. That to me makes sense. Again, if I was growing 1,000 pounds of oyster mushrooms a week, I would not even consider it. I would be growing as simple and straightforward as possible to put out a consistent crop to make money with. But again, here we are. Personally, I like to use azomite. And in my experience, there's many ways to use it, only one of which I have been successful in seeing good results. Anyways, primitive mycology, just thought I'd drop a few lines here and let everybody know what my thoughts are on the matter. Y'all have a good one.